shame, because there were so many things that were fun, not negative, but just fun things that you did, you know. And people would go, walking around with their shirt on backwards, or they'd walk around with their. I can remember taking. I don't know if any of you were old enough to have dresses with ties in the back, and I turn them around and tie them in the front. Foolish, you know. But all of these things. But what is a fool? Looking at the court jester. The court jester was a very important part of the whole time. The court jester not only made everybody laugh, but was a confidant to the king or the queen. This was somebody they could trust. And as we know politically, it's hard to find somebody you could trust. And this person, that's what they were. They wore a funny hat with bells on it and carried a fake scepter. And they were usually excellent acrobats, singers, magicians, all rolled into one. They were entertainers. And that's one of the things that we have found, is that people who entertain not only get the joy of doing it, but they also live longer. Have you ever thought of all the people that we have that as comedians are still around? Like Mel Brooks, who's 90. Wow. Carl Reiner's 92. Dick Van Dyke is 88. Jerry Lewis is 88. Betty White is 95. Cloris Leachman is 90, and Carol Burnett is 83. And even just saying the name, just bring up a picture of who these people are and how much fun they were. But that entertaining, that being the fool, entertains everybody. And so when you think of it, sometimes you might think, oh, that was kind of foolish. But if people are saying, oh, and smiling, it wasn't foolish at all. You brought life and energy and positive feelings into their world. And so as you think about all of these people that are entertaining us, what does that mean when you get a chance to laugh? It's healing. Okay. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Dr. Norman Cousins and what he did. He was diagnosed with a very bad disease that was going to be taking his life. And he decided he didn't like that idea of leaving the planet. But he couldn't figure out what to do. And then he was talking to somebody and said, well, you know, the more you laugh, it kind of lubricates your insides. It gets everything moving. It's the most positive thing you can do is to laugh. And so he thought, oh, I'm gonna see what I can do with that. Because if my life expectancy is lengthened by laughing, that's an easy thing to do. So he started looking at how to be humorous, how to look at other humor and incorporate it into his life. And he wrote a book. It's called The Anatomy of an Illness, How to Heal Yourself from a Terminal Disease. And what he did, when the doctors gave up on him, he moved across from the hospital. He checked himself out. If you're giving up on me, I'm going to move. Got an apartment across the street, and he started watching all sorts of wonderful, wonderful things on TV, like I Love Lucy, and that type of thing. And then he went back and had his blood tested. And what they had found is his immune system was kicking in. The laughter had turned his immune system around. So instead of dying, he started living. And whatever your faith tradition, they always talk about, you are the one that's in charge of your health.
That's right.
But did you ever think it was by laughter? One of the biggest things you can do, and I hear people say, well, I don't like to laugh. And what I hear inside is, I don't like to live. So we're gonna play something I'm sure you've all heard before, but this is what Norman Cousins' favorite thing to listen to. Welcome to baseball season.
Hey, Albert! What do you want, Costello? I understand that you're going to be the manager of the Lou Costello Junior Youth Foundation baseball team.
Yes, we just organized it.
Oh, you did?
Sure.
Well, I'd like to play on the team myself. You know, I know something about baseball.
Well, that was pretty accomplished.
Well, I'd like to know some of the guys' names on the team, so when I'm in on my screen on the ballpark, I'll be able to say hello to them.
Right, surely I'll introduce you to the boys. You know, strange as they seem, they give these ball players nowadays very peculiar names.
You need funny names?
Nicknames, pet names, like Dizzy Dean, and
Spell it that
Daffy Dean,
I'm
and
their French cousin.
French cousin.
Goofy.
Goofy. We have on the back, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third.
That's what I want to find out.
What silly name? I say who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on
Are you
third.
the manager?
Yeah.
You know the fellow's name?
Well, I should.
Well, then who's on first?
Yeah.
I need the fellow's name.
That's it.
That's who?
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
First base.
Who?
And you got a first base.
Who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yeah.
Then tell me who's on first.
That's right.
I want to know what's the guy's name on first base.
No, what's on second
I'm not
base?
asking you who's on second.
Who is on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. Now, we're not getting...
How did I get on third base?
You have to mention his name.
If I mention a third baseman's name, who did I say playing first?
No, who is playing first?
I'm not asking you who's on first.
Who is on
I'm
first?
asking you what's the guy's name on third.
What is on second?
Who's on second?
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on
There
third.
we go.
I can't change his name.
You got a first baseman? When
Absolutely.
you pay him off every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar. The man's entitled to it?
Who is?
Yeah.
So who gets it?
The jury does. Sometimes his wife comes down and collects it.
Who's wife?
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base?
Listen, what is on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who is on first?
I don't know.
Third base.
You got a house field.
Well, surely.
The left fielder's name.
Why?
I just thought I'd ask.
Well, I just thought I'd said that.
Tell me who's playing left
Who
field.
is playing first?
Stay out of the infield. I don't know what's the left field.
What is on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base. The left fielder's name.
Why?
Because.
Oh, he's center field. As well as I do.
Look, you got a picture on the
Wouldn't this
field.
be a fine team without a
The
picture?
pitcher's name.
Tomorrow.
You know what it's coming today?
I'm telling you, man.
Go ahead.
Tomorrow.
What time?
What time was?
What time tomorrow? You're going to tell me who's pitching? Who is? Now break your arm and say who's on first. I don't know what's the pitcher. I don't know. Third base.
Charlie,
The pitcher's name.
today.
Today, tomorrow's pitching.
Now you've got it.
Now I've got it. I don't even look. Only got a couple of days on it.
I can't help that.
Couple of
Don't
days.
get excited now.
Who's your next
Take
guy?
it easy. Take it easy.
I'm a pitcher pitcher myself. Now I'll pitch today myself. And tomorrow's pitching on the team. Now tomorrow throws the ball and the guy up bunts the ball.
Yes.
Now when he bunts the ball, me being a good catcher, I'm gonna throw the guy out of first base. So I pick up the ball and throw it to who?
Now that's the first thing you said right.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
That's all you have to do.
To throw the ball to first base. Now who's got it?
Naturally.
If I throw the ball to first base, somebody's got to get it. Now who's got it?
Naturally.
Naturally?
Naturally.
Oh, so I throw the ball to
Why
naturally.
do you do nothing of the kind? You throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
That's it.
That's what I said. I throw the ball to naturally.
You do.
I throw it to who?
Naturally.
That's what I'm saying. I throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
You ask me.
You throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
What's that?
Damn it, you! I throw the ball to who?
That's it.
Naturally. Now, whoever it is drops the ball so the guy runs to second. Who picks up the ball and throws it to what? What throws it to I don't know. I don't know throws it back to tomorrow. Triple play. Another guy gets up and it's a long fly ball to be caught. Why? I don't know. He's on third and I don't give a darn. I don't give a darn.
Oh, that's our shortstop.
And, but can you imagine knowing that laughter is going to heal you and listening to something like that, or I Love Lucy, or all of those things that you just make you laugh, and it might not make an awful lot of sense, but it's funny. And so many times people want to make sense. They want to be really, this is the way it is, instead of sometimes saying something foolish. I have one of the things that I said, it was Easter service. And so I was up here and I was being very serious because it was Easter. And I said, and I will now breast the bread.
I remember that.
And everybody looked, and of course I meant to say, bless the bread, you know. Well, for how many years, every time Easter came around, they'd ask me if I was going to be breasting
Well, you
the
said
blood.
it twice.
I know, I couldn't get off of it. I kept breasting the
did it
blood.
again.
And I realized that I had more fun doing that service, and the congregation did too, because it was so silly. And people do that. They misspeak, and they always are like very embarrassed. Like, oh, don't be embarrassed. Know that you can just say, "Oh, that was fun," or "That's the way it is." Find that humor. Find that humor in life, because not only does it help you heal physically, it helps you heal emotionally. The more you laugh and the more you look at things, and so many things we take seriously are just downright silly. You know, you take it so seriously if somebody pulls out in front of you in a parking spot. Why? No, he's on second. But no, you go, why am I so upset that my blood pressure is going up? Everything in my body is turning because there's 25 other parking places. You don't own that one, your name's not on it, you know? But we still get caught up in the anger towards people for things that don't really make any difference. So try and find a place to let comedy heal you. And you can live with beauty, you can live with elegance, you can live with spirit, but live being a little bit foolish. Look at how much fun it is to see people smile, to see people laugh, to do something that they go, oh, that's interesting. While you laugh, your problems go away. Think about that. How many of you ever go to see comedy? How many of you ever go and you can just break out in laughter? And afterwards, when you leave, you go, oh, I feel so much better. What happens? You let yourself go. So start looking at how you can do that. I have a joke that I want to read to you because I thought it was so funny. And I think I've told about 6 people because I read it yesterday and I couldn't keep it to myself. Anyway, this is about a couple who wants to get married. And so they're all excited about they're going to get married, so they go talk to the minister. And the minister says, okay, and he takes the information, and then he says, do you want a traditional wedding, or would you like a contemporary wedding? And the would-be groom, he says, well, neither of us are really religious. We think we would like to have a contemporary wedding. And so the minister says, fine. Well, the day of the wedding comes, and it's raining. And so the groom looks, oh my gosh, he can't get the pant legs wet on his tux. So he rolls up the pant legs and he forgets about it because he's waded through the water. They walk into the church and he's walking down the aisle and he comes up and the minister looks at him and he says, son, you're going to have to put your pants down. And he looks at him and says, can we have the traditional wedding? I thought, yeah, that's the way life is. Sometimes whatever you miss here is just downright funny. The 5 things that we have there that are really worth something. What are they? Health, love, happiness, self-expression, and joy. Don't ever negate joy. I've had people say to me, oh, well, you know, it is so difficult to be happy these days with all that's going on. That's when you need to be happy. Look at things that so many people are complaining about and say, where can I find the joy or the happiness or I can look at that and I don't have to get involved. Do you get involved in other people's stuff? Have you been around people who do? I hear people all the time saying, well, did you know that he said, I said, do you know him? No. Did it change your life? Well, no. But he said, okay, let it go. Let it go. And you'll find that your life becomes a lot easier. And it's not going to depend on all those other outside things. Realize that it starts in here, in that joy, in that being foolish. Any of you ever, you don't have to raise your hand, but think about it. In the 12-step program, one of the most difficult steps is step 8. To make amends to all we have harmed.
Yep.
Why do we go around harming people?
Because we've been hurt.
And we've been hurt, yeah. Why did somebody else harm us? It started because they've been hurt. Yeah, it hurt people. And if you say to yourself, wait a minute, that person didn't mean to hurt me, even though you know somewhere in your heart they did. But if you can do this forgiving, it's amazing, and you can forgive and all of a sudden turn it into a different expression of what it was. Because you hold on to things, sometimes even worse than they were. Your remembrance of things can be that how difficult it was. You know, that whole thing, and yeah, I had to walk to school through the snow, 5 miles upward, up both ways, up both ways. Yeah. And then somebody says, well, where did you live? Well, I lived in Chicago. And what hills were you walking up and down, you know, or whatever. How did you get 5 miles away, you know? Because there's so much that we exaggerate in our memory. And you can change your memories. You can change everything that happened to you in your life by remembering them differently. And what you do is you put humor into it. I've often talked about my father would get very angry at me, and he'd hit me. And so one day he said to me, I don't know why you're so stupid. And I just looked at him and said, inherited on my father's side. that bit of joy kind of put me through the wall. I mean, he just held on and clobbered me. But it was worth it, you know? And so I always, and people said, well, you know, so-and-so did such and such. I remember that not as this horrible man beating me, as like, I got him. You know, I can raise up my thumb on that one. But because looking at things as being funny, looking at things as being outrageous, be outrageous. If you don't do anything, people don't even remember you.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, how many times have you said, oh, remember that woman that sat back at me with that, I don't know, the black jacket and the black pants and didn't say anything? No, I don't. Do you remember the woman with the hat and the loud laugh? Yeah, they remember me.
That's right.
And it's not that I live to be remembered, but I live to make friends. And if people don't notice you, how do they become friends with you? If they don't notice that you're there. So think about that. How can I make myself somebody that seems friendly? And quite often it's smiling, saying something that might be a little bit loving, kind, or even foolish. We have some jokes. How many people like to read out loud? Anybody here that likes to read out loud? Dean, could you see these people that like to read out loud? They're going to put their hands up, and could you pass out some jokes to them?
Pass out, Dean.
Yeah.
Pass out.
Because some people reading out loud is just calling attention to themselves more than they want to, you know? We've got some people up here. Here, Jim and Margaret and Norma. Here, Carolyn. Christine.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, who's ready? Who's here? Let's get some comedians going. Go, Keith.
As a manager of an electronics shop, I ordered a part, number 669, from the factory. When it arrived, I noticed they had sent me part 699. Instead, I fired off an angry letter and sent it back. A few days later, I got the replacement. It was the same part, along with a note containing these 4 words: turn the box over. I'm going to tell you another one that happened to me last week. Marge and I were talking. I was explaining to her a situation that happened to me in the Air Force. It was a life or death situation. She says, "Weren't you afraid?" And I looked at her very seriously, says, "No, I was too scared to be afraid." After 10 minutes, we got our breath back. I started to say something, and it took another 20 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, Regina.
You want to stand up?
Sure.
One morning, a crippled man came into the church on crutches. He stopped in front of the holy water, put some on both legs, then threw away his crutches. An altar boy witnessed the scene, then ran into the rectory to tell the priest what he had just seen. "Son, you have just witnessed a miracle," the priest said. "Tell me, where is this man now?" "Flat on his back, side over by the holy water."
Okay, Carolyn?
Okay. Well, I would have this one. The kids had been begging for a hamster, and the mom finally gave in and bought one. But just as she feared, she had to take care of it. Exasperated, she said, "Why did you ever want that thing? How many times do you think you would have to? How many times do you think it would have to die if I had not been looking after it?" "I don't know," her son said. "Once, I guess."
Denise? Oh, no, you don't have one? Okay, Christine.
A distinguished minister and 2 elders from his congregation attended an out-of-town meeting that did not finish until rather late. They decided to have something to eat before going home, but unfortunately, the only spot open was a seedy bar and grill with a questionable reputation. After being served, one of the elders asked the minister to say grace. "I'd rather not," the clergyman said. "I don't want God to know I'm here."
So, do you know the 3 times that most people go to church? When they're hatched, matched, and dispatched.
Attorney. She had 3 children, right? Witness, yes. How many were boys? Witness, none. Were there any girls? Your Honor, I need a different attorney. Can I get a new attorney?
Yeah, well, this one goes back to the watching play last night. Jim?
A young boy refused to do his homework. And his father was trying to convince him. He said, "When Abe Lincoln was your age, he was reading his homework by fireplace." The son replied, "Yeah, but when he was your age, he was president."
Attorney, how was your first marriage terminated? Witness, by death. Attorney, and by whose death was it terminated? Witness, take a guess.
Annie?
So interestingly enough, I think I heard Doc Eileen tell this joke last week. On Sunday morning, a mother went in to wake up her son and tell him it was time to get ready for church, to which he replied, "I'm not going." "Why not?" she asked. "I'll give you 2 reasons," he said. 1, they don't like me. And 2, I don't like them. His mother replied, "I'll give you 2 good reasons why you should go to church. 1, you're 54 years old, and 2, you're the pastor."
It was a hot morning in Tulsa when I drove past a house with a sad-looking guy sitting in front, surrounded by a pile of stuff. A poster read, "Garage sale, 7 a.m. to 100 degrees.
Oh my God.
Little boy was sitting next to his mother.
Oh, come on, stand up, they can't hear you in the back.
A little boy is sitting next to his mother during a wedding ceremony, and the little boy asks his mother, "Why is that lady wearing white?" And the mother says, "Because this is the happiest day of her life." The little boy says, "And why is the man wearing black?"
You want another one? We've got plenty.
Oh, okay.
Dean, you want
She wants another one.
Yeah, yeah, here we go.
You have to be silent.
Attorney. She had 3 children, right?
Witness, yes. Attorney, how many were boys?
Yeah, we just read that.
Can't put that good one.
That's what you just had.
That's what you had.
Okay. Small male is really dead. Before I left on the trip to Alaska, I promised my 5-year-old grandson, I'll write you a letter when I get there. Okay, he said. I'd like an A.
Chris?
Yeah, this one's not in the basket, but I like it. The mother is trying to get the kid to do his homework, and it's a question about memorizing all the presidents, and she says to the son, when I was your age, I could name all the presidents in a row. And the kid goes, yeah, but there was only like 10 of them.
Yeah, as kids, we were convinced our parents, came across on a wagon train. It's hard to imagine how old they were, whatever. Andy, did you have one?
Yeah. This one is heard before, but if con is the opposite of pro, then Congress is the opposite of progress.
Okay. Who else? Who else got one? Yes, Dean.
Attorney, do you recall the time that you examined the body? Witness, the autopsy started around 8:30 p.m. Attorney, and Mr. Denton was dead at the time. And the witness says, if not, he was by the time I finished.
Yeah, I was really into, after seeing 12 Angry Women, I was really into attorney and witness jokes. I mean, that was all done last night after we got home, so yeah. Okay, anybody else have one? Valerie?
I made it.
I don't understand it. I don't know if it's funny.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
A police recruit was asked during the exam, what would you do if you had to arrest your own mother? He said, call for backup.
Anybody else have one? Yes, Laura.
This is ladies at church, okay, so talking to the reverend. I'm sorry, Reverend, my husband walked out of your sermon. Please don't take it personally. And then he said, oh, I did find that rather disconcerting. Oh, it's nothing to do with you, Reverend. My husband has been sleepwalking since he was a child.
Obviously, the minister wasn't talking about it being foolish. Okay. Dean, you had another one?
Yeah, it was not written down, it's just one I know.
One in your head?
One in my head.
Woo! I would be
I know I didn't
surprised.
in there, but I found one. A man gets in a boat wreck and he's out in sea trying not to drown. And he prays to God, please, please, please help me, I don't want to drown. And he's praying and he's like drowning. And a boat comes by and they see him drowning. They say, hey, get on the boat, we'll help you. No, 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 God will save me. And so the boat goes away. Okay, whatever, you're not going to go on the boat. And then another boat comes, a big cargo ship. Hey, get on our boat. No, 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 God's going to save me. Okay. The boat goes away. A little tiny fisher boat goes by. This little thing could barely get on, but still the fisherman goes, hey, get on my boat. And the guy's like, no, 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 God will help me. God will save me. And the fisherman says, I'm not going to get on the boat. Okay. He swims away, he rows away. And then eventually the man drowns. And then he goes in spirit, he goes to heaven, and he's like, God, I prayed for you to save me. Why didn't you save me? And God says, I sent 3 boats.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want you to think this, as we're going into April Fool's Day. I want you to think to yourself, what can I do that makes me laugh? What can I do to help other people laugh? If laughter saves them from being sick emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, how can I help? You had your hand up?
Yeah, this isn't really a joke or anything, but it is a joke. It's been ongoing in San Francisco for many years. April Fool's Day, they call it St. Stupid's Day. They have a walking parade on the streets, and there's 12 different places they visit, and they carry the stupid signs and wear stupid clothing, and at one particular place they have in front of a stock exchange, they have the San Francisco sock exchange. You bring all your old mismatched socks and you just throw them up in the air.
That's a fun, foolish thing to do.
And then you go, there's another place, there's this crazy obelisk thing, someplace along the wall. They throw pennies at it, and it's, they get stuck in the bushes. And it's really a crazy, fun thing to do. And I've been to several of these parades on St. Stupid's days. It's called the Church of the First Church of the Last Laugh. Is the parody that puts it on. The parody that puts it on.
It's
Joey
a lot of
Bishop.
fun.
Yeah, Joey Bishop is the leader basically, and he's been doing it for like 30, 40 years.
Well, that's cool. Thank you. Fun things to be doing. Okay. Well, we're going to invite a wonderful lady to come up and sing for us. And this is somebody who is not only, she has some of the most fun songs that I have ever heard. And this is Margaret. And for those of you who don't know Margaret, she's here best known as being Norma Hughes' daughter. But in her own right, this is Margaret Mee. Oh, welcome, Margaret.
Margaret Miles. Margaret Miles. It's Margaret Miles, Dottie.
Margaret Miles.
Yeah.
I love dishes.
So, I truly believe the universe has a sense of humor, and if ever I get too serious about anything, typically something happens that makes me remember, oh yeah, lighten up. And so then I try and pass that on to other people, and I think I got my sense of humor from my mom and my dad. They both have good senses of humor. And so on Thursday, my mom was in a minor car accident. She's fine, you can see she's fine. It messed up the car royally, and the other person was fine. And so I talked to her a couple hours after it had happened, and I said, so how are you doing? And she said, I'm okay. I said, and you were on your way to get your hair fixed, right? And she said, no, I was on my way back. I said, well, how does your hair look? She said, well, it looks great. I said, well, see? At least it happened on the way back from the hair appointment, and you have good-looking hair. You may feel lousy, but you look marvelous. This is a song I wrote actually in less than an hour, because that was the amount of time I had. And it's based on being in charge of too many things. And so it's one of those, lighten up when you feel like there's too much going on. Everything is under control. I've got all my ducks in a line. Everything is under control, just not necessarily mine. Things are moving faster than the speed of light or Superman. Some things are moving faster than the human eye can see. Everybody has a question. I know that I'm just a guest in this big universe, and what is curious to me is everything is under control. I've got all my ducks in a line. Everything is under control, just not necessarily mine. Snowflakes strike the windshield of my car as I drive through the dark. I'm pelted with a plethora of people's petty plights. Feeling any moment I'm about to jump to warp 10. Could you please repeat the question while I contemplate the night? Everything is under control. I've got all my ducks in a line. Everything is under control, just not necessarily mine. I'm flying, feels like flying, never going to fall, held aloft by enough. I've got my thumbs in Chinese handcuffs, and the more I struggle, the more trapped I seem to feel. Feeling I can't do enough. Well, if I just relax and know the universe is here to ask, the problems will resolve themselves, and all that's truly real is everything is under control. I've got all my ducks in a line. Everything is under control, just not necessarily mine. And I say everything is under control. I've got all my ducks in a line. Everything is under control, just not necessarily mine. Just not necessarily mine. Thank you.
One of the things that I did that was pretty foolish, but it came about because I was noticing as I drove over the grapevine that every year when spring came, there were all these beautiful California poppies. And I noticed that there wasn't anything else but California poppies. Well, I'm into diversity. You know, I thought, that gets kind of boring, fields and fields of California poppies. So the next year, it rained right before April 1st. And I had a convertible. And I went, aha, the rain has stopped. And I got about 15 little packets of seeds and cut up the pop and drove over the grapevine, letting the seeds go. And the next year when I went back, there were purple flowers and there were pink flowers and the poppies. And I so loved the idea of us reseeding. So Dean, if you could pass out. So I have packets of seeds, and they're all mixed up. There's wildflowers, zinnias, all sorts of different kinds of, and they also have material in with them. It's not just seeds. So you can put them anywhere and they're going to grow. And so I thought, you know, it's been raining, so just go out, maybe in your yard, or maybe driving down the freeway, and plant new seeds. And think of these seeds as new beginnings, the end of the negativity, the new beginnings of life, love, flourishing, and flowers, so that the next time somebody drives by, they're going to see your gift to the world blooming. Awesome. So I want to thank you all for taking and seeding the universe, okay, as it were. And there we go. Yeah.
I'm humming your song.
You're humming Margaret's song.
I'm humming Margaret's song, yeah.
Are you ready, our wonderful Dr. Eileen, to